Identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a people that at war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another broadcast of the John the Kev Show. I am John, and my brother sitting next to me. This is Kev, and boy, do we have something to talk about tonight. How you doing,
Yes,
man?
sir, man? I'm doing good, man.
Good,
It's been
good.
a while since we had a show, and
Yeah, the last time I saw you was about 15.
I didn't have a beard, huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
But tonight we're going to talk about the White House's effect. In other words, we're going to ask questions and we're going to dissect, is our history being wiped out or are they taking it away from us? So let me set the table, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Kev, because I know you're chomping at the bit. You want to say some things about this, and I don't blame you because I do as well. But I want to set the table, and this is how I'm going to set it. Under the current administration, several significant changes they have been made that impact African American communities. And now representation in federal institutions is pretty much non and void. The removal of African American historical representations, the revoking of affirmative action policies, the dismantling of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, the Smithsonian exhibitions are basically included. Those at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, they remove artifacts, they've moved exhibits related to slavery and the civil rights. And additionally, the National Park Service has altered its basically Underground Railroad removing reference to Harriet Tubman and the Fugitive Slave Act. And I can go on and on and on. So these actions have sparked significant debate concerning African American civil rights advocates, historians, and members of the African American community. So, Kev, I want to ask you, and I want you to take your time tonight because we definitely need to talk about this. And those who are listening to this, we would love for you to call in and let us know your opinion at 361-405-6111. But I'm done, and I'm turning it over to you because I know you have something to say about this. What say you, brother?
Okay. I think the question is, are we surprised?
Okay.
All right. For one, are we surprised? And ask yourself, are you surprised? And to me, if you're surprised, that tells me that you have been delusional about this government, the U.S. government, period.
Okay.
The fact that this was waiting in the wings, this is not something new. I'm going to say this right now.
Okay.
It's new at that level because, I mean, whitewashing of Black history has been going on before I was born.
Okay.
I didn't know the Egyptians were Black when I was coming up. They taught us about the Egyptians. I didn't know all of the inventions that we had as a people. You know, I didn't know Hannibal, the great general, was Black. I didn't know. It's a lot of figures, a lot of things that I learned that I didn't learn in school.
Okay.
So the whitewashing of history has been going on. It hasn't been going on at this magnitude and this level, which I think that's the current movement. I'm not even just going to say this administration, because things like this had been happening and going on years, at least 7-8 years ago, which maybe this was Trump in office did. And I remember showing up to events where they were removing statues or they were fighting for things to happen. But they were also mentioning that they were trying to whitewash history, take slavery out of our history books. And that was a fight.
Okay.
And my thing is, what is it that they're actually doing? What do you label that as? Are you saying are they taking away Black history? Are they erasing Black history? And I'm going to say no. They're not erasing Black history.
Okay.
They're taking away Black history from the education system and the federal establishments, which they have the power to do.
Okay.
But they can't erase Black history. Some people say, well, they're taking away Black History Month. And I know probably what you're saying.
Right.
They can't take away Black History Month. That's like saying we just gonna all forget. It's not a Will Smith movie where you're gonna come to everybody and just flash something. Black history wasn't made for the government anyway. Black history was made for us.
Okay.
If they acknowledged it, that's fine. If they learned it, that's fine. But it wasn't made for them. It was made for us.
Wow.
So they can't take away Black history. They can't take away history, period. They could take away where you could learn that history from.
Right.
That history is still going to be there. That history is already etched in stone. Now I think we have to maneuver differently. We have to look at the government differently because now they're revealing ourselves to an extent that many of us didn't think they would go through.
Okay, okay, and that's awesome because I'm pretty much on the same page. But I also like to challenge us because what you said earlier, that was a mouthful. What you said about when it comes to us, so the question is taking back what? Taking back what from whom? You can't take something that should be our responsibility to withhold and to hold up and to also flourish and to cherish it. And so a lot of my comments tonight, I'm going to not just say that it's just about us because we do live in this country. We are citizens. And even though we pay our taxes, we all have jobs, we do everything that everyone else does. So in that regard, I understand racism from its inception. So that's what they do. They've never stopped doing that. All of our lives, it's been a struggle. Every era we've had to go through, we've had to struggle, we've had to fight, we've had to do all types of just things to try to make sure that we preserve that which was sacred to us. So we have to ask ourselves, symbols, they mean nothing on the wall if the mind and the heart is not right. And that's what I wanted to talk about because a lot of us say that they're taking something from us, but the question still remains, if it is taken, if it is lost, if it is forgotten, who is it forgotten by? By whom? Who's the one that's forgetting? They never had it. They could care less about it. But if we never had it ourselves, or we don't know that it's that important, then this is a responsibility on us. And I think it's incumbent on us and our children and our children's children and everyone that looks like us to make sure that we do practical things to make sure that we keep the dream alive from the standpoint of our legacy.
Right. My question to a lot of these people that's complaining about this, I would ask, have you visited any of these institutions that they taking things away from?
Okay.
Have you made plans? I hear people talking about making plans to go on cruises and going to Vegas and all this stuff, but I very rarely hear a lot of the people that's complaining about what they're doing. Do you go and you visit any of these places? Are you, and it don't have to be this one in particular, but have you gone to anything like that of historical value to us? And it may not be within your economic means to do that, but I'm saying locally, have you done anything? Do you go to the black museum that they have in your neighborhood? Do you even read on that stuff?
Right.
So, and this, like you said, it's incumbent on us. And my question, what I looked at earlier, I'm gonna put this like this.
Okay.
The Smithsonian, the African American Museum in DC. And I heard we had a show and a sister came on and she was talking about how beautiful it was and she had went. And I know my sister and I'm sorry, my daughter went and my daughter was telling me this and we had planned to take a family trip there to go. But my thing was I looked up who funds it.
Okay.
So it is government grants and funds that's going towards that. And I also looked up who funds the Holocaust Museum in the same location, city and everything. So it's basically the same thing. They have government grants and they have private funding from and like say like Bill Gates and his wife, they have a thing they help fund it. Oprah Winfrey, like a lot of private, then they have public funding. So it's a whole array of money that comes in. And my discussion with my daughter about this earlier this month, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about it. She gave me some different perspectives, but my thing was we should be having our own stuff.
Wow.
If it's ours, they can't take it away. When they're the ones putting money into it, then they have power over it.
Yeah.
Like you have your school. Now somebody comes and say, hey, Walmart wants to sponsor your school. And they'll come to you, they say, we got all this money. All your money problems will be taken care of. But you don't teach this.
Right.
Don't teach that. We don't like this. Now they're going to open your books and see what you, and they're going to have a say so.
There you go. Kevin, that was very profound because I think when we both have to look at it, and everyone else that's watching this, is the question of who controls our story. And see, that's where it all boils down to. Who controls our story? Who controls our legacy? And if we turn our legacy over to other people, which a lot of us are easy to do because we look at it like we're Americans now and they should have, the right to do what they do. And then when they don't do it, we have a problem with it. But we are the ones that should control our story. We are the ones who should control the narrative. We are the ones who should be controlling all of the details, everything that we talk about when it comes to our legacy. And unfortunately, when you give that up to a people, they're not going to write the books, or they're not going to treat you the way that you know you should be treated. But when you give your power, as you mentioned, when you give it over to people, then of course you're going to complain. It's like everything else we do. When we want to do something, and when they take it from us, we gripe about it instead of saying we should have our own. Let's start working on that which they cannot take away from us, from the standpoint of the controlling of the power and the story of our basic legacy.
Right. And I remember I used to have a cassette tape of Farrakhan when I was a younger man, probably in my teens. And I think he did he visited Michigan State, and he had a speech there, and I learned a lot from that. And it just came to my mind with this, because he was asking the students there, how many of them take African American studies. And people was thinking, okay, that's Farrakhan. The ones that they raised their hand, they feeling proud. Yeah. And he probably thinking he gonna say, well, why all of y'all? But no, he was like, y'all wasting y'all time and money. He said, you know how much it costs to go to Michigan State, a primary white institution, and you spending your money in your time to let them teach you about you. He said, I can give you a bibliography of books that you can learn everything that's going to be even better than anything they teach. He said, use this time and effort and money to learn the skill that you're going to make money. You're not going to make money from African American studies. You know what I'm saying? He could say you should be doing that on your own.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Not letting somebody else teach you about your history. That's why I chuckled when you were saying that, because it brought that to mind.
Yeah, because our history and our legacy has always been under threat. So for those who are delusional into thinking that it hasn't been, and it's just now starting to happen, then this shows you how out of touch with our own history that we are. Because anyone that's been in this country that looks like us, that has really done some serious study, serious research, they ought to know that ever since we were brought over here, our history has always been under threat, and it will always be under threat. We shouldn't expect anything less, even though we want to live in this fantasy world when it comes to how we should be treated. But the reality is, how are we being treated?
Right.
So
we have been treated in any other way and everything else.
They're consistent.
So my question is, those that know, those that learn, those that have a consciousness about their history, me and yourself, where did you learn your African American history from? Your African history, your Afrocentric perspective, all the history that you have learned, where did you learn it from?
A lot of it come from when we first started. The little bit that we got, at least what I got, was in an institution or a so-called educational facilities, but it wasn't anything deep. It was just the surface. So I had to go on my own crusade on my own. You know, I had to look up people like John Henry Clark and all of the brothers and sisters who had the same mindset. It was only then when I came into a real understanding and a realization of the importance of my legacy. And I know everyone's not like that, but I want to challenge people that we need to get like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Those that have that type of mindset that say this is our history. Before it was a social media and you start listening to the clips and job posting stuff about this and that, and you say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Those that know your history, where did you get it? You didn't get it from your school.
Nope.
Not in this country. You didn't get it from there. So basically, you had to go outside of the school system to learn. I tell people this. I started my college career in the military. I was at Monterey Peninsula College in California. Some of the best schooling I ever had. I didn't believe that I would be able to. I've had this, college is going to be this and that. So I kind of creeped into it, and I took it, and it's like, man, this is good. Some of my philosophy, logic, poli-sci, all of these classes I took there. But then I had to come home, and I went to St. Philip's to pick up some of to complete my degree. St. Philip's a community college. Now, I tell people I learned so much at St. Philip's because I had a library, not the classes. When I took physics, that was physics, whatever. But when I had free time and I went to the library, I had the resources to look up everything that I started, like Farrakhan was saying, or John Henry Clark. I was able to get the books and read it and cross. I had the best education wasn't in my degree. It was in me going to the library.
Exactly.
So most of my, I'm going to say 60%, even more, 75, 80% of my information about Black America, Black American history, or African history, I got on my own in books and cassettes and all things like that.
Right. That's excellent, because you control the narrative. And when you control the narrative, you control the future. So now your future is nothing but bright, because I can't come in here, or no one else can come in here and start trying to hoodwink you about your legacy, because you already have researched it, you've already have studied, you've already debated. And so this is why I want to challenge all of us to continue to be that way. And if those who haven't started the process, you're going to have to get up and start the process of learning for yourself and not relying on other people that don't look like you, and even those who do look like you in instances, to get into this legacy of on your own and see how beautiful it is and how grand it is. But that's got to come from a mindset that's saying, I have to take this up myself.
Responsibility.
Exactly.
So, and that's to me, now you got, if you learn your history, teach your kids their history. A lot of people, they can't teach their kids anything because they don't know. One of my best friends, he has a massive library in his house. It makes mine look shameful.
Okay.
I mean, he got floors.
Right,
he got a room full of bookshelves that goes all the way around, and he goes upstairs and he got more. So I'm like, man, this is your private collection. So he could teach his kids. Kids could come and reference stuff. Right.
Wow.
So, but my thing is, if they're taking these things out of the school books, part of what they're doing, they're editing, they're erasing history out of it, they're changing the history.
Yeah.
Then they're banning books from being taught in school, and this is colleges too.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and they banned 300 books. And my thing, the first inclination that I had, I want to know what books they don't want me to read, because I'm gonna run and read. That 1619 project, I already had it down.
Right.
But you know what? I'm telling you, y'all better get that book. And I told people when I bought it, y'all better get this book. Now they banning it. They don't want that taught in school. You got to learn what your enemy don't want you to know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you also have to create what is called family archives. In other words, we're talking about history from days of old, but we're talking about collecting and preserving family photos, collect letters, collect images, talk about great granddaddy, talk about big mama, talk about these people, and show your children that, so they will know who these people are and the role they played in their life as far as historically speaking.
Right.
Because a lot of us, we talk about everything under the sun, and that's great. But at what time are we going to take up the mantle and talk about that which we know is trying to be erased and wiped out from us? So that, to me, in barbershops, in beauty salons, we talk about sports, we talk about religion, we talk about this, we talk about that, but I've never been to a barbershop or a beauty salon where we had history or legacy as a very important subject matter that everyone chimed in on. You taught someone, and then I jumped in, and someone else jumped in, and that barbershop was a mecca. It was a learning center, as opposed to a gossip center talking about somebody.
Yeah. And another place that I think that is very important for us to do that is family reunions.
Oh boy, I had that too.
Family get-togethers. Let's talk about because everyone has their, and we all know Big Mama, we all know Grandma, we know Great Grandma. But then when them kids hear you tell stories about them, and they know who you are, who they were, they say, okay, this is wild. You make them people instead of just a stature. That's
exactly.
Grandma. They're not gonna act a certain way around the little kids, but when they start to feel like, okay, she's just like me, or I'm the one that acts like him, or this person acts, and they understand that family bond. And then to me, this is time. When hard times hit us, we always bond together, bond for a little while. Oh, they killed Trayvon, or they killed Tamir, and all of a sudden we bonding together, and we gotta. Then all of a sudden we scatter. The light comes on, we scatter. And we going back to doing what we doing.
Exactly.
And it's like, man, y'all forgetting y'all forgetting what they call it, the assignment. Y'all
Right.
forgetting the assignment. Like, we gotta have the assignment. We gotta know the assignment.
Right.
Stop crying about what are you gonna do about what they doing? Are you surprised? Why are you surprised that this American government, and I'm gonna say this, you could say this cabinet or whatever presidency is doing it, then where are all the other ones that we supposed to that we support? Why ain't they supporting us? Why it is not a big fight?
Yeah, why it's not a big fight, because a lot of people don't care about what you and I are talking about, because they're caring about getting their palms greased, and they're looking like us, but they could care less. You don't see these places like the NAACP, the Urban League. You don't see the Black Caucus. You don't see them doing anything but sitting around, padding their pockets, and then coming on TV lying to us about how the government is so unfair and what we need, but they don't want to sacrifice to do anything about it. And back to the family reunion, I thought that was very interesting that you said that. But when we talk about Big Mama and all these people, we need to start talking about character. In other words, Big Mama might have liked to cook, and you couldn't find any greens that was better than Big Mama's. But what about her character? Big Mama was a person who loved people. Big Mama was a person who wasn't a hypocrite. See,
Right.
these are the character building lessons that we should be teaching our kids so that they can say, when I grow up, I want to be just like Big Mama, because I want to have that character where I treat people the right way, and that I'm not what we call two-faced, and I'm not that kind of person who most of us tend to be, because we haven't heard enough about Big Mama and how Big Mama treated when
Right.
she was alive.
Right. Yeah, I know our family did something on my mom's side,
Okay.
St. Louis based mainly.
Mhm.
But they did, everybody in the family wrote something about their own pod, their family. So my mom has a section with me and my sister, and in my section, it's like a tree. So it's a big binder.
Okay.
So we learning about people we don't know, but we post pictures. You
Mhm.
post your pictures.
Beautiful.
This is who my granddad, it's like all the
Wow.
grandparents
Mhm.
is on there. Their brothers, they are siblings, and then their legacy comes. So the oldest one, his legacy comes first, and his kids, and then they grandkids,
Yeah.
and
Beautiful.
everybody writing stuff. So at that time, my kids were very young, and I posted a picture of us, and I had something that you put a statement. So now it's like earlier this year, my daughter comes, and now she's interested in it. She's looking at, she's trying to sort it out better.
Yeah.
And this is something that we probably have to go back into. It should be, instead of, it was as a binder then,
Okay.
a thick book that all of us got, we paid for. And it tells us about who our grandparents,
Wow.
mothers, and who they were. And this is something that we can all, now it's been grown and expanded,
Wow,
because
that's
this was
beautiful.
like 25
Wow.
years ago.
That's
But this is what people should do.
Exactly.
Sit
Exactly.
down, make a historic reference of your people and your family. So down the line, people will know who they are and who they came from, where they came from.
Exactly. And don't let our children dictate to us what we should be doing when we discuss this, because see, sometimes kids are kids. We didn't want to hear that. But as a parent, you have no choice. You have no option. You will listen to what my grandfather did. You will listen to what your great aunt did. You will listen to stories of the past as to how these people became to be so great, even though they're not in history books. But they're great in our hearts because they lived with us and they demonstrated the love. They demonstrated compassion. They demonstrated how to treat people. See, this is what we have lost, because many of us, we don't like to sit our children down and do anything but give them a tablet, give them a phone, give them a game. And that's fine in and of itself, but what are you going to put with that? Every time I'm around you, I can't get away from it, and neither am I trying. But within 3 minutes when I talk to you, you're going to bring up something about a historical figure, and that's beautiful. This is how men should talk. This is how women should talk.
That's what they should witness. They should witness
Exactly.
that, hey man, this is something important, and give them assignments.
Yeah,
Hey man, do you know about this person?
Go check them out.
Do you know Assata Shakur?
Mm-hmm.
Give me then when they get older. Now I'm like, that's how I got into Malcolm X.
Okay.
As a young dude and a teen running the streets, I knew about Malcolm because his book was in our house.
Okay.
And I didn't know who he was at first.
I got you.
And then it's like, okay, I want to do a book report on Malcolm X at Black History Month, and I'm in the school. I got a Jewish teacher.
Wow.
They told me that from her name,
Mhm.
and everybody like Malcolm X. Ooh,
Wow. Wow.
And I'm like, okay, that made me feel even better. It's like writing about Bigfoot or something. Like, what, did he kill people? I don't know, but it made me learn.
Right.
And I'm talking 3rd grade, 4th grade. But see, we have to do this.
Yeah.
It is incumbent on us as parents to prepare our kids for the future. Now, one thing I do want to say, when I said that it should be a fight between those that's in the government, I'm talking about the liberals. We, the Democrats, we sit up there and we put them in office. Now they should be taking care of us. Like, hey, we got you. It should be an easy fight.
And we shouldn't
even have to be fighting that hard, because we should have half the damn government helping us fight. But see, it's like 30 states that has introduced bills about critical race theory teaching. They don't want it being taught like it is. So to me, it ain't 30 red states.
Right.
So that means that some of these is like liberal states, and they are passing legislation because it's not us and them, or they want it to be like, oh, this side of the government is against y'all. Well, if they against us, then if we with y'all, then that means they're against you. They're against you too, which y'all just against each other to get as far as get in office.
Okay, we vote these people in office, many of us, and we don't put fire under their feet. We vote them in, and we just let them treat us any kind of way. And so then when there's something that arises like this discussion you and I talk about, we feel aloof. We feel unattached to them, as opposed to, I voted you in there. You said you were going to do these things. And since you're not doing these things, let me help show you what you ought to be doing, especially in a time and day like this. And another thing I want to piggyback off of what you said, I think, which is important, is we have to teach our children at a young age. Now we can teach them when they become teenagers. I'm not saying we should never, there's not a certain age, but when they're young, Kev, you have to instill that in them at a young age. And then that's going to give them what they need as they grow up. When a man turns 18 and 19, you can holler at him all you want to about going to the bookstore, going to the library. A lot of times he's not interested. But if you put that seed in that child, when that child is a little kid, that child will learn. This is one of the things that I pride in at Liberation Academy. You're going to know who you are. You're going to know the people that paved the way for you. You don't have a choice. You don't tell me. You're going to learn this. And then when you get it, you're going to say, I want to know more. So now my kids are on automatic pilot. They're not better than any other child. They're not worse. It's just that right now I don't have to say anything to them because they're going to listen to you. They're going to see what you say about these people. And then when you say something that is not correct, they're going to help you and show you another aspect because they've been taught that. And that's what we have lost in our families, in our schools, and in most of our lives.
It's a beautiful thing. I thought about this earlier and I just didn't get a chance to say it, but when they're taking away history, what they're doing basically is dumbing down America. So to me, I think they're making chess moves. I think what they're doing, they're trying to affect our youth. Like today, this history today, Trump gave the HBCUs $500 million, right? Awarded them. People, I've seen some of these bandit-eyed critters in our community, these Oreo type people, they celebrate. See, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, where did the money come from? Why would he do that now? After he didn't sit up here and tried to cripple their knowledge, now he's trying to give people something to cheer about. So what he did, he took that money from the MSI, right? And now the Hispanic institutions. So basically he took $350 million from them with this little thing there. So all he did is rob Pedro to pay Peter or to pay Paul. He robbed Pedro to play Paul. So now that's pitting us against the Hispanic community because what it is where now it's like everybody's dumping on them. We don't care what's happened to y'all. We got the money. So it's starting a little conflict in between the two groups, which that's divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Another thing, like I said, when you give money to somebody, now you get to say, hey, you know what? Like I said, Walmart come to you and be like, hey, we give you this money, but hey, I don't like this. Now they got power. What we should be doing is funding our own HBCUs because these are the kids in college. Now we got kids in other colleges, of course, but these are the Afrocentric, the black-minded kids that want to be around their own. And now they're trying to affect them. And they trying to make them think that we're not that bad. Your parents don't. That's old school stuff. Don't worry about all of that.
We're giving you nothing but practical tips today. So we want you to call us at 361-405-6111. And we just want you to give us your thought process. Also, give us some lectures on what we can be doing to continue to make sure that we keep this history. And one of the things I want to say is, wherever we go, Kev, we should be a history book. We should be a history lesson. We shouldn't wait till February. We shouldn't wait till Martin Luther King's birthday only, Malcolm X's birthday only, Shirley Chisholm's birthday only, et cetera, to just really go gung-ho about that. We should be a 366 day lexicon. We should be a dictionary. We should be whatever you do to open the book to find out how to learn. We should be spewing that to our children. And again, you got to have a desire for it, see, because a lot of our desires are in not just social media, but it's in sports, it's in movie stars, it's in entertainers, it's in, doing things that we shouldn't do, but our desire is not there. You can't give it to them. I can't give it to them. We can encourage them, but this has got to be an individual process. Each of us have to take this thing by the horn and say, you know what? I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that I can do something about the situation that I'm complaining about.
We got real life superheroes in our people and our legacy in this country and the world, period. But instead of them being like Spider-Man and Superman, about this person, person. I don't want to just be naming names. I ain't trying to show off that, but I'm saying, your kids should know that we got people that have been through a lot and did a lot. We got, even if you want to talk about inventions, I think I posted something today about the doctor and his wife that came up with the GPS stuff. Everyone uses GPS today. We used to be like pirates. We used to have a map when we trying to travel somewhere and we were reading the charts like a pirate used to do. Now it's like put it in your phone. Where you live at? Give me your address. Boom. I don't care if it's across the country. Okay. You know, I'm gonna find the quickest route there. But these are things that we have done.
Right.
We have done. And then those that has fought against the system, and the system have tried to oppress them and kill them or whatever. We have those type of heroes in our legacy and our history that we should be teaching. The government never was teaching that. So you talking about they erasing something? They erasing with the little crumbs that they was giving us anyway.
Right. Our home should be, as I said earlier, our home should be the Timbuktus and the Meccas and all of these great institutions that we've learned from in the past. This is where it all starts. Of course, we should further it in other aspects, but that's where it should initially start. And so we should challenge ourselves as parents. And I must challenge myself and say, am I doing as much as I can as an individual man for the upliftment to preserve the history and the legacy of our people? If the answer is or no, then I need to get myself involved into some type of setting where I can learn, where I can read, where I can teach my children on a day-to-day basis or a day-to-week basis or a monthly basis, where in my house, you're going to know that as your father, I'm going to tell you something that's going to be beneficial to you. Like my cousins told me, and my sisters, my older sisters told me, and my aunts and uncles said my grandmother was the type of person that she would always give to people. And I heard that so many years, and I always wondered, why am I so, helpful? And it's like, I've heard that so much. And now it's like, that's something that she had and she passed on. And I want to emulate that. So when I do things, they say, well, why are you so kind-hearted? I'm being like my grandmother because I heard that's what she would do. She would help anybody, a stray cat, a stray dog. She would help people because that's how her heart was. And these are the lessons that we should be hearing so often, that when we grow up, we should say, I want to emulate her or him because these lessons really spoke to my soul.
Right. And it's a shame that it's a fight to erase that type of love that we have for each other. It's a fight from the other side that's trying to imprint that in these minds. These people, nobody's going to care about you. You got to look out for yourself. You think Malcolm X used to look out for himself? You think Martin Luther King looked out for himself? You think John Carlos and Tommy Smith looked out for themselves? Them brothers lost their careers. They lost their marriages and things like that, trying to show the world that we are what we're going through. Not just Kaepernick, he lost his career. He $100 million at career contract signed, and he lost it fighting for the stuff that was happening. So that's not just us. We not supposed to just think about us. We're not supposed to. The kids should see us acting in a way that they should feel ego, pride, and looking at how we are, instead of looking at the crackheads and all this stuff, or the gangbangers, whatever these people are, or to listening to the music that these people are putting in place to put in the forefront. They should be learning from us. And the government can't erase that. That's what I'm saying. They can't erase who we are. They could dumb their people down, and they're dumbing some of us down. They dumbed us down already, but they've been dumbing their people down because they have something bigger down the line that they're planning to do. They want to erase all this Martin Luther King holiday, Juneteenth stuff. They trying to make it so that their kids don't empathize with us and what we've been through. No, don't feel sympathy. It's just like what they do with the Jews. The Holocaust didn't happen. These people are still thieves and stuff like that. So when you see stuff happen to them, you don't feel a certain way. So that's what they preparing for us. Don't worry about what they've been through. Don't even, they ain't been through what they saying, so that's what they doing. And if, and when our kids go to school, if we teaching them and they go to a school and they start talking about something, you say, yeah, but your kids should be able to say, yeah, but they was, they was black, right? Oh, no, we don't know. Well, I can let you know because this book says this, and this. And then everybody gonna hear it. They could tell them, hey, we're not gonna have this or that. Get your grade, but know that and you know what they don't know. So when they present that garbage to you, when we older, you can sit there and debate with them because they don't know. They don't know.
And see, I think here's one of the biggest issues that I have with us, and I'm including myself in as a person, as an adult. Here's something that's very problematic. When we become adults and when we become a certain numeric age, instead of continuing to be the parents that we are, for example, you're going to always be your daughter and your son's father. I'm always be my son's father. But some of us, when we become a certain age, we flip things over, you see, and we allow the youth and the kids and the young adults to dictate to us how we should think, you see, because kids and young people should have that mindset because maturation is a process. So they're still growing, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, even some in the 40s. We're still on that journey. But what happens is, instead of us talking like this and making sure that we are in a position to teach them, we have allowed them to teach us, and then we have allowed them to dictate to us how to think. That's why we old as dirt want to listen to Tupac and Biggie and them. We want to listen to all that, which what you do is your own personal business. But when are you going to listen to Denmark Vesey? When are you going to listen to a lot of the other people that may pave the way for us? When are you going to read about them? When are you going to talk about them? When are you going to lecture about them? So we have allowed these young people, many of them in our own families, our kids, because they don't know much. And because we haven't had it in our hearts, they dictate to us how we should think and feel. And that's why a lot of us are in the stupid situation that we're in now.
I think in some cases it's necessary, because you had old people like us, Malcolm X, call them handkerchief heads. You have us that says apple pie and all this stuff, and we try to hinder the youth from being rebellious against the system and the government. Don't be talking like that. We making progress, so the youth is a conflict sometimes, and sometimes the ones that know it's going to be a conflict because it's the older people that don't know.
Exactly.
And sometimes you have to listen. Yeah, they don't want to know. So it is that dynamic that happens one way or another. I know when I used to go back home, I had a cousin. He used to always bring up Malcolm X, and he would talk, man. And I don't care if it was negative or positive, but it would get everybody talking. So my uncle would chime in from his perspective. I would chime in from what I know, and he'd chime in from his perspective. And it's like, man, and we get in all this. It's like a big discussion, and that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is you want to talk about. If you want to talk about them erasing our government, the main thing is talk about it amongst yourselves,
right?
But then talk about a solution.
There you go.
My thing is, my pet peeve is us always bitching and always complaining and not talking about. So I'm gonna say, so what should we do?
Exactly.
What you think we should do?
Exactly.
I got in my mind what I think we should do. What you think we should do?
Exactly. And we should be supporting Black-owned businesses and platforms that produce and teach these types of things. See, we support some of these businesses and institutions that look like us, and they don't mean us any good. You see, we should even go to some of them sometimes and say, you know what? We've been supporting you for a long time. Let's have this discussion about the importance of history. And some of them, because they're into it, they're going to say, you know what? I didn't even know you were like that. So now we got to kind of light a fire under them. So we should be supporting those. Like you said, we should support these HBCUs because they need our support, man. And we can't sit back and think that sometimes people are going to just do what we think they should do. Sometimes we have to be the catalyst, just like this broadcast, the John Kev Show. We're always running our mouths about something positive. We're always sitting back talking about something that people can do to better themselves. And if that's not what you're into, then I feel sorry for you.
Right. It's I'm going to get in some of these comments first. I want to thank Barbara Royer for showing up. She said, "Hotep." Marie Asaze, she said, "Hotep brothers, this is very good topic." The Day Bishop, she said, "Good evening. I appreciate y'all showing up." Sakina, she gave a greeting. Walaikum assalam, sisters. And Leslie Robinson, I appreciate you showing up. She said, "Beautiful topic." And Barbara Royer, she had a statement. Did you want to read the statement?
Sure. It says, "The sad thing about it is that if our children aren't taught this from their parents, there is no way they will receive it in the public school system because history, European, will always rank the classrooms above our African American education." I think that is so true, but then there's a flip side to that.
What's that?
The flip side to that is, since we know that, we should expect that. Then it's incumbent upon us to do what they're not doing. Right. Even if it's someone in the family, it doesn't always have to be a mother or father. But if I know nothing about history, but I know that they're taking this information and confusing it, and you're my brother, I can say, well, hey, let me call my brother. Hey, Kev, why don't you come over today, man, and we're going to sit around and have a nice little dinner. But I want you to talk about the importance of history. In fact, I want you to talk about Booker T. Washington and his philosophy, you see. I want you to talk about the town of the 10th. I want you to talk about W.E. Du Bois. I want you to talk about Marcus Garvey so my kids can know, see, instead of calling you over to talk about your brand new car, your brand new shoes, and all of this kind of stuff.
Will Smith and all this other stuff that these people like to gossip about. Sakina, she said, "I got my information from a Black-owned revolutionary type bookstore and speakers." I appreciate that. She's talking about the question that I asked, where did you learn about your Black history and everything? And Josiah said, great topic, brothers.
I want to say something about what he said. He says, great topic, brothers. You see, when you see someone that's great, Kev, if you and I are watching anything, whether it's entertainment, sports, or lecture, whatever it is, when we see that, the first thing, if you and I were watching something and I saw someone do something spectacular or impossible, I'm gonna say to you, that's great, Kev, what he did or what she did, that's fantastic. So I'm gonna go on and rave about that. But for someone to say great topic, in other words, they're acknowledging that what we're talking about is superior. It's something that we need to continue to discuss. It's not just a topic. This is a great topic. Why? Because we are a great people. So greatness knows greatness. And that's what I'm saying. That's a beautiful comment. Only 3 words. Great topic, brothers. It's great, man.
I appreciate the acknowledgement. I'm gonna say this topic was asked by someone that watched the show one time and said, why don't y'all talk about this? We always ask people, if it's something y'all want to talk about, just let us know. Hit us up in either of the platforms that you hear about. My page, Kevin Lewis, on Facebook, or Cries Womb. Message us, inbox us. We give the the email is jokevshow@gmail.com. If you got a topic you want us to talk about, we'll be happy.
Yes.
Now it's not going to be what you think about Will slapping. It's not going to be that. We're going to pick it and see what it's about. We're going to discuss it. We should be having intellectual discussions amongst all of us. Everyone. You should be able to be talking to, if you could talk about all this gossip stuff that's happening with celebrities, you should be able to talk about, like you say, in the barbershops, you should be able to talk about. So what you think, if Martin Luther King was here today, what you think he'd be? Do you think this or that, or whomever, whatever? You know?
Because cultural continuity is what we need to discuss too, because we should not only talk about it, but we should pass it on. We should pass those traditions down. Like you mentioned earlier, family reunions. We always complain about family reunions, and we should, because sometimes it's just getting together, talking about who cooked what and how it tasted. But we can take that opportunity to talk about getting our people together and talking about, did y'all know, with not just the little kids, with the adults too, did y'all know that there was a brother who way back in the day, he invented this, and look at the odds he had, things of that sort, the sisters, a lot of the things that our sisters have done. So we should take advantage of making Kwanzaa more important than it is, making Juneteenth, as the brother said, something that's great, and not just, well, what you gonna do for Juneteenth? I'm gonna go buy me a 2-piece outfit and we'll get some firecrackers or something, throw some sparklers or something. That's the kind of mindset we got to dissolve and get rid of.
And I don't attack anybody for doing other holidays, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. And people ask me what I'm gonna do. I say I don't celebrate this. I'm gonna leave it just like that. I'm not gonna put you down, and I don't do that. Whatever it is that I don't watch, I'm gonna tell you why. And the thing is, see, like we was talking about our HBCUs, and this is one thing I don't want to bring up. I caught a lot of flack because I wasn't with Deion Sanders leaving Jackson State.
Okay.
People and brothers came on and they was talking about HBCUs like they was trash. I'm like, brother, if they're trash, that's a reflection on us. And my thing is, our dreams got to be bigger for the multitude, for our kids, than it is for an individual that's a celebrity. You want to see him go to a bigger college and maybe he can win a national championship. I don't care.
Wow.
I want to see him at an HBCU. I want to see Dr. Claude Anderson. I want to see Dr. Boyce Watkins. I don't care, Omar, whatever you think about him. I want to see Dr. Umar. I want to see them teaching out of HBCUs. I want to see all of our great Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary. I want them to be teaching, and I want them to be at our schools. I want our best to be at our school. If Deion Sanders is one of our best coaches, I want him at our schools. If I'm the best players, I want them at our schools, because I'm not talking about the sports. I'm talking about that's the money that generates for all these colleges, primary white colleges, black the sports teams is what puts the money in, and then we should be putting the money in, and then we're going to be independent instead of dependent, especially on this Cheeto that's trying to send money, and that's just nothing. That's nothing.
And we got to stop something, Kevin. I hear it in what you're saying as far as the people that talk about your stance on something that's to better us. We got to stop what is called this argument of incredulity. In other words, we have this notion that if I don't do it, or if I'm not a part of it, or if I didn't come up with the concept, it's nothing. See,
Right.
but if I do it, it's great. Or if I know someone that does it, they're fantastic. So this argument of incredulity is something that we all have to check within ourselves, because we have a tendency, some of us, we have a tendency to look at people and we critique them and we criticize them and we denigrate them only because we had nothing to do with that, instead of saying, hey, this is a team sport. I've never seen a person, even in sports, when someone makes a touchdown or scores a lot of points, a lot of times it's the bench who's excited. You're like, man, this dude turning cartwheels, he didn't even do it, but he's excited for his team.
Right.
But a lot of us are on the team, but we sit back, like you say, and bitch and complain and murmur and groan and bellyache, and we're not going to lift a finger. All we want to do is watch a broadcast. We want to sing a song, or we want to, get something to drink, or we want to get something to eat. And we're going to sit back on the couch all the time like those, what they call them, Monday morning quarterbacks. Well, if that was me, this is what I would have done. Instead of saying, you know what? That was great what that man did. This broadcast is a great broadcast because it's not about John Kev. It's about the subject matter, you see.
Right.
And that's why we keep forgetting.
Right. When we're talking about this topic, think to yourself what it is that we need to do now. We're here. Many of you didn't think that we would be here. And I hear people say, man, you hear what they're doing now. And I'm thinking to myself, every time someone says that, I'm saying, why are you surprised? I ask them, are you surprised? Like, they found bones in the serial killer's backyard. Were you surprised? He'd been doing this for a while. They found another bone. Yeah. Why? So this is what they've been doing to us. They've been whitewashing history. If it's 300 books that's banned, then we should be trying to figure out and go buy those books so that we know that our kids are not going to learn about it at home.
Right.
I mean, in school. So make them learn about it at home.
Yeah.
This should be in your library. You should at least have 300 books, or some of the books may be similar. You should at least have 300 book library at home.
Right.
Do something about the problems that you're complaining about. Let's devise a game plan of what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Now, like you brother, you got your own school. You have a complaint about the education system, so you started your own school.
Yeah.
Now, my thing is, if they doing something and support the ones that starting their own schools. He's not the only one.
Right.
Support these people. Support HBCUs. Support so other people don't have to control them like a puppet because they're giving them money and they're hungry for money. So they're gonna do with it just like you see a person homeless. You see all these videos where they making homeless people, crackheads, fight each other because they starving for money or whatever. And they'll do something for $10 that most of us wouldn't do. But now our HBCUs is put in that position because they starving for money. So if the control is going to be who's ever giving the money. If you look at the Black Museum in DC, I was looking at who all puts money into them. I'm thinking Target, Walmart. I mean, it's a lot of businesses. The Gates, like I said, Bill Gates and his wife, Oprah. You can look those things up and understand who you're dealing with. So now when you see somebody saying, well, we're going to boycott Target, yeah, maybe they putting the money into that African American museum because they want to act like they're friends with us, or do they act like they're friends with us really? Understand what the DEI topic is really about, and understand that this is a chess game. They got people making chess moves that we're not even paying attention to till it's too late.
Right. And what I'm about to say now, is not arrogance, because I want to preface this before I say it, because sometimes when I speak, some people say, well, this is an arrogant guy. I'm not arrogant. I'm just factual. And here's a fact. We must do something that you and I did. And what I'm saying, this is the truth of the statement. We produced our own media. See, we complain about the media not telling our story. We're telling our own story on the John Kev Show. Every first Tuesday, every third Tuesday, we're telling our own story. So we can't sit up and complain about two other guys up here saying, things that are nonsensical. So we produce our own media. So now we can tell our stories the way they should be told. But unfortunately, a lot of us don't want to produce our own media. And I don't mean have a broadcast. I mean, tell the story the way it should be told. And in that sense, you're producing your own media. You're telling your own story. This is why I like to get into plays and things of that sort. No one can tell a story the way you and I can tell it when it comes to you experience that. You're going to come from a certain perspective, and so am I. But the bottom line is we're coming from a perspective where we have been and continuously are oppressed. And so we must tell the story on how do we combat what is being happening to us. So this is why we must tell our own story and not look for people to tell our story, then complain about the story when the story isn't told the way we want it to be told.
And some of that media goes to our movie producers and directors.
Uh-oh.
And I'm gonna talk about, like the stuff that some of these brothers doing. They creating all these crime series and people are tuning in, so they distracting you from the goal. And I don't adhere to that. Even the podcasts and stuff, they want to gossip, they want to argue about who's the greatest this and this and this. And all I'm saying is we got to use what we have to get done what we need to get done. I'm gonna say something else. It's a 1916 Savannah Railroad. These Savannah, Georgia. This is in the time 1916, the teens when America was running their railroad system across continent, across the country. What they would do, I didn't know this.
Okay.
And it's something I learned. They would go by the black towns, which means they wouldn't have a stop. They'll run the railroad through it, but it wouldn't stop there.
Okay.
So what they were doing, they were blocking us from having access. And it's just like something just running past your house. If you had a bus when you was a kid and that bus just kept eight blocks up and you didn't have a chance to catch the bus in your neighborhood. It just went past in the street. This is what they would do purposely, because all of those places that's near natural avenues of transport, the rivers and stuff, they will be flourishing because they have a way of transportation information going through and leaving, and you could get your ideas out at that time. They didn't have an internet. So if you was an artist and you said, well, I'm gonna go stop at all the towns along this railroad station, they wouldn't stop there because they would know nothing about it, because you just a blur going by. So what they did in Savannah, blacks wasn't even allowed to ride on that train. So they built their own railroad, not a train.
I got you.
I'm talking about the tracks. They built the railroad and the tracks.
Yes, sir.
And that's a great thing that our people did. It's a way of networking. Y'all don't want us to do it. We're going to do it our damn self. They shouldn't have to because they're paying taxes.
Exactly.
The government should be taking care of them. But I don't even know if the railroad system was privatized or what. But either way, they said, you know what? We're not going to sit here and complain and say, look how they doing us. They built their own railroad.
That's beautiful. We should also document our elders and our community leaders. In other words, we should ask questions, like, who was this person that came before me that's in my family? Or tell me someone, if I was your brother and I was a younger gentleman or older gentleman, I would say, Kelvin, you know about the family history. Tell me something about someone I don't know. And you're going to say, okay, well, Ja, did you ever know about your cousin, your great cousin, this person that did? And then I'm going to be like, no, I didn't. So now you're going to start the narrative. So now that I will have that information to me. And I think a lot of times we don't do the interrogatives. We don't ask the who, what, why, where, when, how. We just think things are the way they are because the way they are, but everything has a history. And so instead of complaining about the White House effect and are they taking this from us? Is this being erased from us? We got to do things like I'm saying, which is we have to talk about community leaders. Like there's going to be a day this Thursday. I wasn't even in San Antonio when this brother came out. His last name was Webb. He was a councilman.
Joe Webb.
But they're having a Joe Webb Day this Thursday. I'm going to go. I want to check it out. I want to mingle with the people. I want to talk about that because his legacy must remain, and it's not just because of his son and we have a relationship, but it's because here's a person that did some things for us and we should not let that go to waste just because they're not here.
Yeah. Joe Webb opened up the first black grocery store here over there for New Braunfels and then Nolan and whatnot. I remember when I first came to San Antonio, that was I remember his son being at school. He's a little older than I was. And I remember the Webbs. And I mean, it's people, and if you look at San Antonio, Joe Webb, great. The Suttons, they had the Sutton Homes name. That family, man, one of their kids became all type of great professionals. One of the sons was the lawyer of Malcolm X.
Wow.
And you look at the brothers that made the movie Walk on the River. It tells the history of San Antonio's area, and it talks about all of these great people that was here. And this type of stuff happens probably in every city and town. And I was imploring people, look at your history, get brothers that want to make movies and stuff. And see, that's something that probably won't be a national movie, but you could copy. And I got a copy of that. And it's like, I'm not from San Antonio. I don't love San Antonio like that because I'm like an implant. But it's like, man, this is a great story of our people that could be told anywhere. So instead of somebody here just talking about Tulsa, the Black Wall Street, Talk about your history here. When you look at the names of these streets, this is where these people were at. You know, Commerce Street and all these great people, Red Foxes and them, they came to San Antonio because the black community in San Antonio had things popping. They would let the Mexicans come to their clubs and any white people that wanted to come to their clubs. And the white people say, this is why I like San Antonio. This is one of the only places west of the Mississippi that's integrated as far as the blacks was concerned. The whites still had, you know, their segregation going on. But when we opened our stuff up and our things was popping, we invited people in. We had our own taxis, companies, and all these things like this. So learn your history. They can't take away your history. They could take away your knowledge of your history if you allow them to.
Right. And that's one of the things too, when you talk about people like Joe Webb and others, the story is the same. Every city that's doing something or that's in existence that has a majority African-American population, when you research it and when you peel it back, you're going to find out it was so much exploitation, so much racism, so much denigration, and these people stood up against the odds and they made it happen. So you and I could sit here now and say, let's have a broadcast where we can talk about things. But before we had this broadcast, there were people who stood on the front lines, who fought for us so that we can sit in these rooms and talk about these things, even though we don't look at it that way, but everything came with a price. Right. And that's our legacy. And that should be something that we should be excited about. And we should also have what is called legacy retreats. In other words, we should take our families to a certain undisclosed location. And then for that weekend, instead of drinking and smoking and talking about the past as if the bad things that happened as we grew up, we should talk about people in our family that made our family the great family that it is. Right. There's got to be somebody in your family and my family that held the torch, that did everything they could, as opposed to sitting back and waiting for people to do something for us that we can do for ourselves when it comes to our history.
And if you can't see that in your rearview mirror, you can't see the past and carve it out in the future.
Yeah.
Be one of them people that get your family together and try to build something. Now, that don't mean try to get everybody together at once.
Right.
Build it within the close proximity and say, hey, next year, let's do it like this, and have more people and you know, wanting to get involved in the family and show family that you show your neighbors. I mean, it don't have to be just family. Like I say, kind gestures. Hey, sister, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, brother, how you doing? Sister, I like your hair. Thank you. You know, blah, blah, blah.
You
brother,
know,
stay safe. I would say that about people. I see elder people, elderly black people. I say, stay safe.
Right.
Be safe. Watch, you know, because it's a lot happening to us.
Right.
You know
what would trip them out? This is what would trip them out. The is us. This would have trip them out. If you had a barbecue and you invited me, my family, and about maybe 10 people over here, and you had to pit, you were popping with the barbecue or whatever you were cooking. If you didn't eat pork, you had a lot of us sitting in the grass, in chairs or what have you. You're and everybody's looking, your neighbors are like, what is going on with this brother, Kevin? I think he's lost it. What's going on? So they're nosy. So they want to come outside and act like they're picking up a newspaper or taking the trash to the bin, but they want to hear what you're doing. And to their surprise, when they come to the trash bin or pick up the newspaper, they're going to hear someone extrapolating or someone elongating on someone in the family, and everybody's sitting there looking at you like you are a guru. And they're saying, I've never seen that before, because normally we always get together and we have to call the police because Uncle Slee or Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so did something that messed up the whole thing, or somebody was playing music that was inappropriate to the elder. So it's like we can take advantage of our situation if we are innovative and say, I want to be creative. So I'm going to do this so that not people can see it, but because we need this, man. We need this when it comes to our legacy.
I think community-wise, I think that an idea that I had before, as far as teaching us, period, and with the kids, is having some type of series of I'm so-and-so, you know, and you as get in there, like say, like here at the Carver Library, we rent out the room every Wednesday or something, Wednesday evening or Saturday, and everyone plays someone, you know, like, hey, okay, Jai, you're going to be a Tommy Smith, you know, like people like, who the hell is Tommy Smith? That's that brother right there. And you could say, well, this is what I did. And you dress up like that.
Sir.
You put the black glove on, and I could say, well, I'm John Carlos, you know, like that. And this is why I did it with the brother. And this is what sparked that idea
Mhm.
to do this, and this was what was happening at the time. Then you personalize as if you're doing a play, but
Yeah.
you just make and
That's
somebody
beautiful.
else say, "Hey, my name is Harriet."
That's
And somebody
beautiful.
be somebody that nobody heard of, but somebody studies that person and says, I'm gonna dress up like this. Do you know who I am? My name is so.
Well,
You don't tell them ahead of time and have people show. But I'm saying these are the type of things
Yeah.
that we do.
Yeah.
But it's a learning thing.
Right.
It's an education. You have older people get involved
Mhm.
and they tell you, "Hey, you know what? I'm just Joe Webb.
Mhm.
I'm Joe Webb, and I did this and I
Right.
did that and I did this out here on San Antonio. This and I was a congressman. I did all this stuff, a politician, whatever."
The reason why I'm smiling like a little Cheshire cat on this broadcast, I'm smiling because as you're talking, I'm thinking about what we normally do. Instead of being innovative, like you're saying, you're sharing with me, which is a grandiose ideal and it's great and should be duplicated. We want to get together and dress up like the 70s, wear bell bottoms, put on an afro wig, go down the Soul Train line, cook some fish, drink some beer, drink some wine, and just dance the night away. And so, even that in and of itself is a history lesson, but we don't like to put teaching with it. We just want to dance and wear bell bottoms and see, oh man, did you see Kel? He had a big old afro wig, man. He was tight. Did you see Ja? He had a big old cross that was as big as his chest. You see somebody with them big bell bottoms. So that becomes the topic of our discussion. But at the end of the day, what did we learn other than we dressed like during that time like clowns? I mean, at that time, we wore big stacks, but what is it all about? Always, it's the food. It's always about the music. It's not about just dialogue. And I think we've lost that a lot.
Yeah. And I know it's a person. Many of us know the Serenity Prayer, right? That's not in your Bible. What's that? Reinhold Niebuhr. He made that Serenity Prayer in the 1930s. And many of us could recite that, and many you be looking in your Bible for, but it's not in your Bible, right? But the thing about it, and I think that Sister on the Wall says something. She this is like a borrow for that. But the Serenity Prayer is for asking God for serenity. So that to accept the things that I cannot change, right? We can't change how the government is, what the government does, with the government funding. You can give me the serenity to accept the things I can't change and the courage to change the things that I can and the knowledge to know the difference between the two. We complain about things that we can't change. We can't change how this Republican Party or how America wants to treat us, but the things that we can change is the things not letting that affect us. We can change what we know about our people. Many people that's complaining about you're not trying to open the school. You just worried about them teaching us something and you sending your kids to school and then you complaining about the school system. Change that. Do something. Teach your kids at home. Get your kids some books. Take your kids to the community centers or try to help build a community center, help fund it, do something. But don't just complain because you're not changing anything by complaining.
Well, we're going to end on a positive note because your words you just said are the most positive that we can end on. But I'm going to say something foolish, but I got to say it. I'm highly offended by what you just said because I had to say that prayer, the Serenity Prayer, when I was drinking a lot. Went to AA meeting, and every week I said that, and I believed all of that, not realizing that all alone I could have done the things that I've done on my own. But I'm being facetious. I didn't have a drinking problem unless people start emailing you like, "Kev, get rid of this dude. He might have a relapse." But the point of it is that's so true, Kev. We got to keep our roots. We got to stop whining so much and start being more proactive. A lot of the problems that we see, whether it's in government, the White House, our history, our legacy, we have the solutions and the answers to those problems and issues, but it's just that we sit back and we like to point fingers, and every time you point one, you got three back at you, as the little kids say. And that's true because we don't do a lot about what we complain about. So once again, this has been a wonderful broadcast. I'm so glad the person that talked about giving us the ideal, this was a beautiful broadcast because it never gets old. You don't ever stop talking about your ancestry. Don't ever stop talking about a person in your life that was important. I don't care if they're tired of hearing it. Keep it up till you leave this earth, because that's what we do. We want to have something new.
Here go John with all that black stuff.
Right, exactly.
You want to read the last comment by Barbara?
Sure. Let me take off this specs and I got like different kind of glasses for reading and glasses for seeing. It says, I'm now a great grandmother, and the first thing I'm going to set up for him as of now, at the age of 4 months old, is an education account for college. But what's greater and even better for him is that he be fully aware of his history, being that he's biracial. This topic is awesome. Now that's a whole nother discussion about biracial, so-called biracial children, and how the dichotomy is there. So we say, then Sister Mashonda says, yep, I'll definitely be teaching my grandson our history. You have to be proud of who you are, man.
Right.
You cannot allow other people to dictate to you the mandates of who you are, and then have a problem when that child grows up. So as a biracial child, that's the first thing you want to do, is begin to implant in him who he is, because when he goes to school, they're going to already give him that other side, in a sense.
Right.
So that's important, and that's very wise and sagacious for them to even take that thought to say, I'm on a mission and I have to do something about it.
Okay. We appreciate y'all showing up. Check us out on the first and third Tuesday of the month, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, John Kemp Show.
We're out.
Peace.